Welcome to the Guardian Group podcast series. The Guardian Group, providing extraordinary solutions to today's exceptional problems.
Hello, and wherever you may be, Todd Coleman again with the Guardian Group and another podcast in our series of podcasts. Today we're going to talk about equipment used for universal grid, also known as adapter or fixture testing. Today we're going to use the term grid tester for the North Americas. I'm joined today by a couple special guests. First, our managing director from Guardian Europe, Mr. Holger Kern, and also our director of sales and service here in the North Americas, Mr. Jason Posey. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Todd. Nice to meet you.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing good, Jason. Thanks for being aboard. So, the first thing that we want to talk about here in the North America is we've had a podcast in the past where we've talked about flying probes and what Guardian has to offer in the flying probes with our G series. Holger was very informational on that. And so today we're going to come around and we're going to talk more about the equipment used for higher volume, which we are calling grid testers. So, Jason, I'll ask you first. What you would think, what would you define as a grid tester or a fixture tester?
Well, as most people know, I would define it as potentially more expensive over the lifetime of the machine, just due to the fact that you are having to invest in fixturing materials. But it's a much faster test. You're talking test cycles in a matter of a second, a few seconds. But if you have high volume, it's the best solution. So if you consistently have high volume, it's the best solution for testing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. When you have a high volume and you have the possibility to create your own fixtures or adapter for that, it's a cheap and the long life test. But it's only good for repeatable jobs from my point of view.
Very good. I know we talked about you, Holger, and Rick. You guys talked about recently the Guardian line that we put out for flying probers. And we have a relationship with a company called Kaima, I understand, Holger. Can you tell us a little bit about that relationship?
Yes, that's we are since 2015 working together with Kaima. Kaima is Kaima is the leader in China for grid testing machines and for AVIs. They are a really high-level, Western-oriented Chinese company. From my point of view, this was the first company I've seen in China where I was surprised how machines can be built in China. So the relationship with Kaima is, from the technical side, easy. People know what we talk about. They understand safety requirements. They understand service for machines and after-sales service for customers. And Kaima is a company with about 500 people, when I'm not wrong. They build per month 30 grid tester in different configurations.
That's quite a busy company. That's great information. Do you have, excuse me, do you have machine base in the in Europe? We don't have a lot of Kaima here in the US yet, but
yeah, that is the point. The market in Europe, as we just explained before, grid tester machines are mainly done for high volume and for long runner boards, and that is the case what we don't have so much in Europe. Right now, I have 2 machines in Europe. For customers, they are working with mostly automotive customers where they have really long runner boards, where they have a couple hundreds or thousands per job. And that's the reason for that they have it. But the main portion on my side here in Europe is more for, yeah, low volume productions.
Right. Okay, Jason, a question for you. I know that here in the North Americas and the US, we've lost a lot of the commercial type product to Asia, and we don't have, as much high volume here other than in automotive and stuff. What do you see for, this type of equipment demand in the near future, or, looking forward 6, 10, 12 months, maybe a year and a half? Do you see demand for these kind of testers growing in the US and Canada, or do you see we're about the same?
It's interesting. I feel like we're kind of in a well, I don't know. I'd call it a gray area right now. The conversation around grid testers has definitely picked up here in the last, I don't know, year maybe. And there has been at least 2 customers in the last 6 months who have contacted us for more information and for, quoting on it. And in the last year, we did sell a grid tester, a Kaima tester in North America. So there's some people who say that there are some things that are returning to North America, and there's probably going to be some uptick. Is it going to be explosive? I don't think so, but I do think there is something driving a little bit more interest in it here lately, and I haven't quite figured out what yet. Other than, product that was being built overseas is now, some of it is coming back over here. The question is that because of reliability or, capacity constraints?
Right, you answered my question. I was going to ask what you thought was bringing it back. Was it a reliability or confidence problem, or if it just, some of the requirements have changed for some of the product here? I know we talked about, what fixture testing does, or what the pros are, volume testing, extremely fast as compared to the prober. But then our cons, it's going to take a larger footprint in your area, is one of the things I thought of. And of course, the cost. And when we say cost, it's all relevant, right? Holger, today's machine as compared to a machine of the 2000s, the cost of a grid tester has come down quite a bit, has it not?
Yeah, that's true. Though basically the investment compared to 10 or 20 or 30 years, it's different, absolutely. For a standard grid tester in a low size or small size testing is around 200K. But when you want to have a big size tester, as more electronic you have for need for that, then the more expensive it is. But basically, compared to the history, it changed the prices in the right direction for customers. Even the lifetime for that is much more better than it was before.
Well, so let's kind of talk about, since we're talking about the testers. I mean, what do we have to offer? What are the fixture testers, or grid testers, I should say, that are most common in the Americas, or in Europe for that matter? I don't know if we really have a demand with our types of product here in the US and Canada, for heavy duty octal density type stuff, but for the standard entry level and medium or demand, what are the things, or what are our options?
Looking, when I start to invite Kaima to my customers in Europe, I thought this machine, we have the Kaima manual grid tester. They had a size by 25 and 26 inches. So I thought, yes, that's the right one for Europe because they are looking for back panel testing and stuff like that. And then customer surprised me that automation, loading and unloading in a small size was the winner. So basically, it is the question really which kind of demands are coming from customer. Right now, I have a nice interest out of Italy. They are looking for backplane testing. It's over 35 inches. But that's a huge amount of investment for that because that's really expensive. And then the question is, do you have enough PCBs for that?
Okay.
It's all.
Go ahead.
The question here is always is how we can calculate that correctly for the customer. Then he have to aim in the right goal for that. But automatic testing or manual testing is the interest when we start to request it. Both is possible. Even with this machine right now, when you can work as manual machine, you see in the middle you have the buttons for operated without the loader and unloader when requested. These machines are really universal.
So when we talk about, I mean, I know that some of the PCBs that are being tested with the high density chip carriers and all that get extremely dense. And I see that you sent me a slide where we talk about camera alignment for the adapters, which we also call fixtures that go inside. Maybe explain a little bit how the alignment system works on these newer machines.
Yeah, basically the solution from Kaima is an alignment inside the fixture. So we add inside the adapter or fixture, we add 4 CCD cameras, that's pen cameras. There's a diameter about 10 millimeter. You can place it wherever you have space for that. You need to think about during fixture build. And then we make alignment to place the PCB on the bottom fixture. Camera have a look from the bottom side, camera have to look from the bottom side, and then the cassette would align the PCB to the fixture during moving of some pins.
So does this give us the ability to align X and Y?
X and Y and theta.
Yeah,
Can X and Y and in Angel.
we can.
That is then a normal.
Sorry, go ahead.
Process.
Keep interrupting.
Basically, it's an X and Y and an Angel alignment as we have it. We know it always in the alignment for PCBs. One advantage or one possibility is also that we can adjust the bottom grid in a different position to the top grid when needed by the use of micro movements. Sometimes this is a helpful tool when something went really badly with fixtures and we can adjust it there. There are 2 kinds of alignments, top to bottom, basically, and we have the alignment just for the PCB inside of the fixture by cameras.
Now, is this camera system, is this a standard option on the Kaima machine, or is this an option that a customer would add during the procurement process?
Yeah, that is something you can decide when you're looking for that, or you can use it after. You can add it to each machine, doesn't matter it's a manual or an auto machine. That's just a question of the size of the fixture. When this fit in, then you can use it for all machines from Kaima.
Okay, so on the double density and quad density machines, they have different format sizes, right? There's I don't know how we talk about the adapter sizes for these machines. You know, in our history, we had our fixture size 1, 2, 3, 4, but this can be ordered in different configurations or size, correct?
Yeah, that is always a nice discussion with customers, which kind of fixture style they are using. Kaima is really free. basically you can set up the machine to the fixture you have already in use. For Kaima, is no different in between rigid or compressed fixtures or adapters.
Okay.
This is working for all machines. The question again is the sizes. When the fixture size would fit in and the tooling points are available in the cassette of the tester, then we can use it. And basically right now, when we sell a machine to a customer, then we normally add all our knowing tooling holes in the cassette that the customer had the choice to use the X16 fixtures. Doesn't matter, it is Mason, Mania, CL-Tech, or whatever it's called.
Well, great. Thank you, Holder. That was a great bit of information we got talking with you and Jason on the fixture testers, grid testers, and adapters, alignments, automated versus manual machines. And the other thing that we have available with this group is we talk about AVI, which is kind of a new word for us in the North Americas. We're all used to AOI for interlayer inspection. And we have the option now that Kaima's come up with, which we call AVI, which is automated visual. Jason, you know, we have looked at that over the North Americas. Do you see demand? And tell us a little bit about what AVI is.
So basically, the very general broad definition is, you know, everything that a final QC inspector is checking before the boards go to shipping. Instead of them doing it, the machine is doing it. The issue is, you know, human eyeballs do get tired and they will begin to miss things. A machine does not. Common misconception is that it's going to, you know, put people out of a job. You're still going to need someone to operate the machine, and you're going to need someone who can then verify the defects that the machine identifies. So, you know, that's basically what it does. So we're not doing AOI, we're just doing final inspection.
Well, thanks, Jason. I mean, that is one of the things you mentioned, you know, the operator relief and things like that. But as with any newer type technologies, yeah, that would say the reluctance to accept the new technology seems to be a problem where everybody's worried about their job, especially when we're dealing, you know, at the end of a global pandemic. But on AVI testers, Holger, what is the customer base on this? I know there's a lot of these have really taken off in Asia, but do you see this starting to make a play in the North Americas and in Europe?
Yes, I'm pretty sure this is something will come, because as Jason mentioned, the demand comes more from the end customer that they need to have a proper final checked product that scratches and silly errors like mixed up numbers or wrong printed some things from clear screen is founded because a human operator got be tired, and even then you would maybe miss stupid errors. And that's the reason why customers always comes more and more to AVI test, because here you have the possibility to detect really unusual errors, nothing to do with sizes and nothing to do with shapes. It's just to find the different to the pattern you look for.
So from what I understand on the AVI testers, we have different flavors of those, different types of machines. We have, you know, one camera, two cameras, cameras on both sides. I mean, we have different machines that we can offer our customer base out there. Maybe talk a little bit about that, Holger.
Yes. Yeah, all depend what this customer want to do. Basically, right now with the AVI Smart that we're seeing here, this is a machine done for high resolution Means we can add here cameras with 5 to 10 micron pixel size. So when you want to scan really small items, that's the right one. Then you have 1 and 2 cameras on the top side. The table drives in and drives during the drive in you scan, during drive out you scan, and the camera moves slightly, that you create some stripes, and then you stitch together a picture and you compare it with the data you have loaded to the system via station, and then you have to really one-to-one comparison to data to PCB. With a smart one, basically done low volume, high resolution. With this kind of machine here, with the AVI Mini, that is basically a machine where we have minimum 2 cameras, 1 bottom, 1 top, and we would scan in the same time when the panel passed the 2 cameras. Depend of resolution, when you have a higher resolution, 1 camera is enough, but then we discuss here, let's say 35, 70 microns. When we would add 4 cameras, 2 top, 2 bottom, then we reduce the resolution, and always with the same speed.
So when we run a board, they have the automation of conveyor or handler input, and it scans and output. Then is there if there's a problem, is there a verification type option where, like in a fault station type thing for these AVI machines, where an operator can validate what the machine is talking about offline? Yep. Or do they have to stop the machine? Or
basically you have a loading and unloading device on these machines, where you have an automatic machine where you have a loader put in a stack with PCBs, then you operate through the machine, and then you would sort on the unloading section good and bad, and you would get an information via the software, and you have then the possibility to make an offline verification.
Okay, very good. Well, let's a little discussion about we've talked about fixture testers, grid testers, and some AVI equipment. Some of the niceties of the grid testers, where we can use, what adapters or fixtures that you have already. We don't have to make you rebuild something or start a whole new library, right?
Correct.
And we talked a little bit about the AVI testers, the automated visual, which I've seen these machines in operations at the shows, and I think they're quite the wave of the future, especially for final inspection, where we're talking about dimensional stability and mask and nomenclatures and pads covered in mask where the eyeball sometimes can't see or just misses because they're tired. Jason, do you have anything else to add in the world of Kaima and what we can offer?
It's just there's a broad range for both product lines, for both the grid testers and AVI, that can make it very affordable to, if your needs are, if you have a lot of needs, you really need a good sized grid and high density and fully automated for both, both AVI and grid testers. And then there's even, I believe, Holger, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a machine that'll do both automated. It'll test them and then do the AVI immediately after test. So
yes, that's true. That is the new machine. Yeah.
And then also, if there's any concern, well, I mean, there really shouldn't be any concern, because in North America, how much of what we use every day is built in China now. As Holger mentioned in the beginning, Kaima is really a different company. They're very committed to quality, and because they know that that's the key to their survival. This is not a knockoff of anything. This is not, volume sales of stuff. They are making around 30 machines a month, but it's because of their commitment to just making a very well-built machine. And earlier when I mentioned, grid testers having more cost over the lifetime, I strictly meant in fixturing. The grid testers that we have installed in North America and in Europe have never had a single problem. They just run all day long. So they're very, very impressive machines.
That's a great thing you just mentioned there, because I know when you say they just run, one of the bigger issues that I can remember by 30 years doing this is on the grid testers with their original CMOS and TTL logic circuits and their modules or in their test electronics, static electricity and such was a major problem and a major issue for downtime. And I know that Holger and I had a little bit of a chat here earlier today about these newer machines use a MOSFET module technology, which the MOSFETs are a lot more robust against static. Isn't that correct, Holger?
That's correct, yeah. It's compared to the history, what I have experienced with other style of electronics, yes. The electronic from Kaima is much more stable as the old ones because they are using new technologies.
Yeah, and for people that are wondering about maintenance and upkeep costs or whatever, these newer machines are a lot more robust as far as self preservation, I guess I would say. Well, with that, Holger, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm fully agree what Jason told before.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you, Holger and Jason, for joining me today, talking about Kaima equipment that we have through the Guardian Group. And thank you all for listening to the podcast today and following along with us. If you have any further questions, you can always send us an email to info@guardian.com. That's info@gardien.com. You also can visit our website at www.guardian.com. That's www.gardien.com. So from wherever you may be, thanks for listening, and join us again on our next podcast.